Imagine this. What if you came across a group of soldiers who looked completely normal, but in reality, they were thousands of years old? And the most shocking part, no matter how many bullets hit them, no matter how badly they were injured, nothing could kill them. But then one day, the whole world starts hunting them down, trying to capture them. But why? What is the secret behind their immortality? The name of the film is The Old Guard. Hello friends, I'm Sam, and you're watching Know the Story Global. Before we begin the video, just a small request. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe to the channel. The story begins with a shocking scene where several soldiers are lying dead on the ground. Their bodies are completely riddled with bullets, and it looks impossible for anyone to survive. But who are these people? We get the answer a little later. Now the story shifts to a place in Morocco where two mercenaries, Andy and Booker, arrive for a mission. These people basically work dangerous operations for governments and private agencies. Sometimes they fight terrorists, sometimes they rescue hostages. Their lives are filled with non-stop risks. This time they meet a CIA agent named Copley who offers them a new mission. At first, Andy refuses because their group has one strict rule: they never work for the same agency twice, and they had already worked for the CIA before. But Booker explains that the situation is extremely serious, and when Copley reveals the mission details, they learn that a group of terrorists has taken young children hostage inside a school in South Sudan. Children between 8 and 13 years old. Their teachers have already been killed. Hearing this breaks Andy's heart, and she decides to break the rules and accept the mission. But then something strange happens. While they're talking to Copley, a sniper is secretly watching them from a distance. And after the meeting ends, Copley even gives a signal to that sniper. Right from that moment, it becomes clear that something is seriously wrong. The mission begins, and they're dropped near a location in Sudan by helicopter. Under the cover of darkness, they enter the building quietly. But there is one problem. The place does not look like a school at all. Still, they continue moving forward. As soon as they enter deeper inside, they launch a surprise attack and silently eliminate the enemies one by one. But suddenly, the moment they step into another room, doors around them burst open from every direction, and masked soldiers start firing bullets non-stop at them. Within seconds, every one of them falls to the ground dead. Exactly the same scene we saw at the beginning. But then comes the biggest twist of all. A few moments later, they start getting back up again. The bullets fall out of their bodies on their own, and their wounds heal instantly. Which means these people are immortal. No one can kill them. Now they are furious, and they brutally wipe out all the masked soldiers. But after the fight, everyone starts wondering who planned this attack and where are the children. That is when Andy realizes the truth. The entire mission was a trap. The mission was fake from the beginning, and everything was being recorded through hidden CCTV cameras. Copley had secretly arranged all of this to capture proof of their powers because the CIA had been tracking them for a long time, and now their secret has finally been exposed. These people are not ordinary humans. They are a group of immortals who have been protecting the world for centuries while hiding their identities. But if the world discovers the truth about them, people will capture them, experiment on them, and tear them apart for research. The entire world would fall into chaos. At the same time, the story now shifts to Afghanistan, where a U.S. Marine named Niall Freeman is on a mission. She goes to capture a target, but during the fight, her throat gets slashed, and she dies instantly. But after a few moments, she comes back to life again, which means Niall is also one of the immortals. Meanwhile, Andy and her team are traveling on a train, and suddenly, all of them dream about what happened to Niall at the exact same time. This reveals that they are all connected to each other, and they can sense one another through dreams. Andy immediately understands that if someone captures Niall, they could eventually track down all of them. So she decides to rescue Niall herself and leaves alone to find her. On the other side, in London, we are introduced to a man named Merrick. He's the owner of a pharmaceutical company and is obsessed with discovering revolutionary medicines. One day, Copley meets him and shows him the footage from the fake Sudan mission, the video proving the existence of the Immortal group. The moment Merrick watches the video, he becomes extremely excited and immediately orders Copley to capture them and bring them to him. But Copley explains that capturing all of them would be nearly impossible because they are incredibly powerful. At best, they might be able to capture just one. On the other side, in Afghanistan, Niall is being taken away for testing and examination. But suddenly, Andy arrives and completely destroys everyone in her path. After defeating all the soldiers, she knocks Niall unconscious and takes her toward a safe location. However, during the journey, Niall regains consciousness and suddenly jumps out of the moving vehicle trying to escape. That's when Andy shoots her. But just a few moments later, Niall comes back to life again. Now, Niall attacks Andy, and the two get into a brutal fight. During the struggle, Niall even stabs Andy with a knife. But to her shock, Andy heals instantly. At that moment, Niall finally realizes the truth. Andy is just like her. After that, Niall agrees to go with Andy to the safe location. Soon, both of them board an old airplane and leave for Paris. During the flight, Niall's mind is filled with questions. She asks Andy, "How many of you are there? How many people like you exist in this world?" Andy calmly replies, "Only 4 of us." Hearing that, Niall becomes suspicious. She feels like Andy is trying to force her into joining their group. So while Andy is sleeping, Niall secretly ties Andy's hand to the seatbelt. Then she points a gun at the pilot and says, "Turn the plane around. We are not going to Paris." The situation quickly starts going out of control. That's when Andy suddenly shoots the pilot and secretly signals him in Russian, "Pretend to be dead." The pilot immediately starts acting. As the plane begins dropping dangerously, Niall panics. She remembers Andy saying that she knows how to fly planes. Left with no choice, Niall unties Andy's hand. The moment Andy is free, the pilot regains control of the aircraft. Now, Niall completely loses her temper and attacks Andy again.
The two fight fiercely for quite a while, but in the end, Andy manages to overpower her. Then, Andy finally explains the truth. The US military will capture you and experiment on you in a lab. I brought you here to protect you. Now, Andy's real intention becomes clear. She only wants to protect people like them. After understanding this, Niall slowly calms down. Once they arrive in Paris, Andy takes Niall to their safe house. There, Niall meets Booker, Nikki, and Joe. She discovers that these people are not just 100 or 200 years old, they are several centuries old. And the oldest among them is Andy herself, which means they do not age and they cannot die easily. But then Andy reveals something important. We are not immortal forever. She explains that there was once another member in the group named Lycan who one day actually died, which means there comes a time when their powers eventually fade away, and after that, death becomes inevitable. Later that night, while everyone is sleeping, Niall suddenly wakes up after seeing a terrifying dream. She says she saw a young woman trapped inside an iron coffin, sinking deep into the ocean. The moment Andy hears this, her face turns completely serious. Then, the others explained that the girl's name was Quinn. Many centuries ago, only Andy and Quinn were part of the group. Back then, people believed they were witches and tried to kill them. And when they failed to kill Quinn, they locked her inside an iron coffin and threw her into the ocean. Andy herself was imprisoned in darkness.
She somehow managed to escape, but she could never save Quinn. And ever since then, Andy has been living with that guilt. After hearing this horrifying story, Niall becomes shaken once again. She wants to leave. She wants to return to her family. But Andy tells her, the world does not care about you anymore. If people discover the truth, you will become nothing more than an experiment. Suddenly, a massive explosion shakes the entire place. Everyone immediately goes on alert. Andy rushes outside and sees Booker badly injured by a grenade blast. After some time, Booker regains consciousness, and slowly his wounds begin healing again. He reveals that a group of soldiers attacked them and kidnapped Nikki and Joe. Now Andy completely loses her temper and starts hunting down the attackers one by one without wasting a second. Watching her deadly combat skills, Copley himself becomes terrified. Andy escapes from there along with Booker and Niall. Meanwhile, Nikki and Joe are taken directly to Merrick. They are chained up and presented before him. Merrick says, "For the future of humanity, your existence is necessary." Now his true plan becomes clear. He wants to achieve immortality through their genetic code. He tortures them, performs experiments on them, just to understand how their powers work. Copley becomes deeply uncomfortable watching all this. He warns Merrick, use them only for research, because now even he realizes that Merrick's intentions are becoming dangerously extreme. Meanwhile, Andy and her team hide inside an old abandoned mine. There, they begin planning how to rescue Nikki and Joe. But then, Andy notices something terrifying. The wound on her neck is not healing anymore. She takes painkillers and wraps it in bandages. And now she finally understands the truth. Her immortality is fading away. After thousands of years, Andy is slowly becoming mortal again. But even then, she is not afraid of death. No matter how long immortality lasts, one day, every immortal must face an end. And perhaps Merrick's time is about to end as well. Now, Andy leaves with Booker to rescue their teammates, while Niall stays behind. But during the journey, Niall discovers something shocking. Booker is actually a traitor, because Booker had secretly removed all the bullets from their guns. On the other side, the moment Andy and Booker enter the building where their teammates are being held captive, Booker suddenly attacks Andy from behind and captures her. Now the truth is revealed. Andy and Copley have been working together all along. Copley tells Andy that he wants to uncover the secret of immortality, which is why he wanted to research them. But suddenly, Merrick arrives there. Andy is forcibly captured and taken into the lab for experiments. And the ironic part is, even Booker, who had sided with Copley, gets captured for experimentation as well. Meanwhile, Niall reaches the building while searching for Booker, and there she comes face to face with Copley. Niall immediately tries to shoot him, but Copley quickly realizes that Niall is immortal just like Andy. Then, Copley reveals a huge truth. For centuries, a group of people has been secretly saving the world. Whenever humanity faced a major threat, these immortals appeared, fixed everything, and disappeared again.
People kept believing they were angels. And through years of research, Copley discovered that those so-called angels were none other than Andy and her team. That is why he handed them over to Merrick, because he believed that by studying them, humanity could permanently cure diseases forever. His intentions were not completely evil. His wife had died from cancer, and he never wanted anyone else to suffer that same pain. But now, after witnessing Merrick's cruelty, Copley's conscience finally awakens. He realizes he has made a terrible mistake, and now he decides to help Niall. Copley takes Niall to the building where Andy and the others are being imprisoned. Niall gathers all the weapons she can carry. Before entering the building, Copley says he wants to come along, but Niall stops him and says, "This fight is beyond you."
Copley hands her an access card that can take her directly to the lab through a private elevator. The moment Niall reaches the 15th floor, 3 guards immediately open fire on her. She falls to the ground, but within seconds, she stands back up and instantly kills all 3 guards. Watching this through the CCTV cameras, the entire security system goes on high alert. Now, Niall marches directly toward Merrick and demands to know where the lab is located. At that exact moment, more guards arrive and another massive gunfight begins. Even while taking bullets, Niall keeps killing the guards one by one. She quickly uses the elevator and finally reaches the lab. Inside, one of the doctors attacks her, but Niall kills her immediately. Then she frees Andy, Nikki, Joe, and Booker. Now all of them prepare together for one final battle. Booker is completely shattered by guilt. He wants to stay behind, but Andy tells him, "This fight is not over yet. If Merrick survives, he will never stop chasing us." Now the entire team moves forward together. Guards attack them in every room, and one by one, the Immortals wipe them all out. Suddenly, a grenade explodes nearby. Andy, who has already become mortal, barely manages to survive by taking cover. Meanwhile, one guard attacks Nikki and Joe. Nikki fights him, but the guard shoots Nikki and escapes. Seeing this, Andy completely loses her control of anger. That's enough. She grabs an axe and charges straight at the guards. After some time, Nikki heals and recovers again. Andy captures one of the guards and forces him to reveal Merrick's location. As soon as they approach another room, they realize guards are already waiting inside for them. Niall wants to move forward first, but Andy stops her and says, "A leader always goes first." At the same moment, on the other side, Nikki and Joe smash through the glass and storm into the room. And then a brutal battle begins. The guard who had shot Nikki gets his neck snapped by Joe. Soon all the guards are eliminated. Then they discover that Merrick is escaping through the elevator.
Nikki and Joe immediately run after him. Meanwhile, Andy and Niall share an emotional moment together. Andy says, "I saw myself in you. After me, you will have to lead them." Suddenly, Merrick appears in front of them with a gun pointed directly at Andy. Niall fires a fake distraction shot, causing Merrick to lose focus for a split second, and in that moment, Andy grabs him and slashes his throat with her axe. Merrick tries one last time to shoot Andy, but Niall grabs him and jumps straight down from the 15th floor along with him. They crash onto a car below. Niall's entire body gets crushed from the impact, but within seconds, she heals completely again, and Merrick dies instantly. This is how everything finally comes to an end. Later, the team moves to another safe location. Niall decides that she will now become a permanent member of the team, and with Copley's help, she sends fake news of her death to her family. As punishment for his betrayal, Andy tells Booker that for the next 100 years, he cannot contact anyone from the team. Later, everyone meets Copley again. Andy tells him, "From now on, you will erase every trace of what we do," which means their identities must remain hidden forever. Copley agrees. Then, a few days later, in Paris, Booker is sitting alone and drinking. Suddenly, he hears a voice behind him saying, "Hello." He turns around and is completely shocked. Standing in front of him is Quinn, the same woman who had been trapped inside an iron coffin beneath the ocean for thousands of years, has somehow returned. But how? And what does she want now? The movie ends without answering those questions, which clearly hints that a sequel is coming, where we may finally get all the answers. So friends, this is not just an ordinary story. It is a story of sacrifice, friendship, and fighting for humanity. A story that teaches us that true strength comes when people stand together.
So friends, if you enjoyed this story, then don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel, Know the Story Global, for more amazing movie explanations. Your one subscription motivates me to bring you many more stories like this. We'll meet again in the next video with another heart-touching story. Until then, take care. Thank you.